So I wanted to do this video to talk about Arsenal squad and actually analyse how it's looking going into next season. Because there was a lot of debate on transfer deadline day. Are Arsenal actually in a better position losing Smith Rowe, Vieira, Nelson and Nketiah? Yeah, players that weren't necessarily starters. In fact, they weren't starters. But are we in a better position for adding Raheem Sterling, Marino, Calafiori? What does the squad look like? What are options across the board? And I wanted to make a video analysing our squad, not just in terms of, I think, the first teamers, but actually a little bit wider than that. How many players does Arteta really have available? And what do I think of this squad in general? Before we do that, you'll have seen the breakdown that came out on Raheem Sterling. Enjoyed doing that. I hope you did too. And I hope it's, well, for those who like Raheem Sterling, I hope you've enjoyed the breakdown. For those who weren't sure, maybe it's made you look a little bit more positively. If it didn't, I'm sure I'll have seen the comments. But I want to talk about Neto, who came in from Bournemouth as well. Because I think it's very easy to, just do a breakdown on Raheem Sterling and forget that we actually did add a number 2 here because we couldn't get Javi Garcia. Now, in a little bit about Neto and sort of why we did that deal, first, it made complete sense. It's a dry loan. There's no option obligation. True of Raheem Sterling too. And as you can see here, his player profile, clubs he's played for, as you can see, he's played for big clubs like Juventus, Valencia, Barcelona. Of course, he's Premier League experience. And we're getting him as a player who's coming at 35 years old, who knows the Premier League and has done pretty well in it. I mean, when we signed him, the general feeling was, yeah, good work. This is a good goalkeeper. Fair play, bring him in. He's going to be good as a number 2. I had a look at his ref stats, so I'm going to share for you here. Firstly, in terms of general goalkeeping, not a lot stands out. I mean, clearly quite good on penalties, but that's pretty much it. There's no kind of major stats that sort of stand out there. If I show his advanced goalkeeping stats, I mean, corner kick goals against, so he doesn't concede many goals from corners. Well, that fits in with Arsenal. His launch percentage is quite good, and his average pass length, he's able to go from back to front quite supposedly easily. That's something that Arsenal goalkeepers will need to do, but there's not a lot that stands out there. So when I watch the comps, lots of good shot stopping. I can't say I saw much in terms of his ability with the ball at his feet, but he played I'm getting my words confused. He played under an Andoni Iraola side. See why I found that difficult? And they will play, good football, playing the ball out the back. He'll have had to have been accomplished all that. Frustrating thing is that he apparently cup tied for the Carabao Cup, so it's like, Tommy Setford, you better be ready. But, I just wanted to touch on him briefly. There's not too much there that I can really say about him. It'd be really interesting to see if, when we catch him more in the FA Cup, and that could be as soon as we see him, we obviously hope there's no injuries to David Raya, we'll kind of learn a little bit more about him, which will be interesting come the FA Cup in January. Might not touch a ball for Arsenal till then. But, hey-ho. And let's go into the rest of the squad and talk about my general thoughts about it. I mean, first and foremost, I think it's important we touch on the goalkeeper situation. Let's do it in blue. And look, that just looks a lot more sensible. In fact, let's do it. I don't want it to checkered. Apologies. I'm being a bit pedantic with that. But there we go. I think that's just more sensible. Rise, your number 1. Neto is a Premier League goalkeeper, and Setford is an 18-year-old who will hopefully grow to become the Arsenal number 3. I think that is just a much more sensible balance for all involved. Now, the defenders get really interesting, okay? Because I've got them all here. I needed 2 rows. Now, I've got to say, the likes of White Saliba, Timber, Gabriel, Calafiori, Tomiyasu, Zinchenko, I mean, their inclusion makes complete sense. What's interesting is what we're thinking when it comes to these 2, Kivior and Tierney, and Lewis Skelly. Now, it wouldn't surprise me if Tierney basically had a contract terminated, but I think it'd be a shame. He's got an injury, and Arsenal are quite classy on that front, right? They're not just going to sack him off. They'll let him sort of keep training, and I wonder whether he's just another option at left back. I mean, how many left back options have we got now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 potential left back options. So, 7. Timber as well. It's crazy how many potential left backs we've got. So we're pretty stacked in that position. But I did just think it was kind of worth mentioning that we're really stacked to the back, and I don't expect at any point in the season to have problems there. And if Saliba gets injured, White can revert to centre-back, Timber can go to centre-back, Kivior has played right centre-back before, and Arsenal are really keen on keeping Kivior. What's interesting is how much football we're going to see from this guy. Oh, there we go, pen's not working. Lewis Skelly, he's a midfielder who's kind of being trained into the inverted left-back role. We know that because he's starting for the under-21s as a left-back to play that role. So Arsenal clearly want to develop him in that way. Really interested to see if he gets any minutes in midfield, especially with this Marino injury. So now we go to the midfield. And yes, you'll have noticed some names have included. Nwaneri is an obvious one. He's a part of the squad now. We know that. I mean, the Vieira and Smith Rowe deals tell you that. But I also think the fact that he is someone who, played so well in pre-season, I think like kind of stamped his authority a bit. I think kind of makes sense that he's a part of it. But I've included here Saladin. And some of you might laugh at that and go, why? He didn't kick a ball, basically post-tour. In fact, he didn't even play in the Liverpool game. He only kind of played the Man United and Bournemouth games, kind of all we have of him. But he has been travelling with the squad when they've been kind of short on numbers. So they're not trying to sort of get him far away from it. He's just kind of in that pecking order. He's just a little bit behind at the moment. But basically, do I trust... apologies, let me clear all that. Do I trust him to stay fit all season? We know there's a 2-month injury for Marino. Is Nwaneri ready? Nwaneri is a 17-year-old. And whatever we might say about Saladin, right, he's 21. He's much more matured, at least. He's got 4 years extra kind of being in and around Arsenal, in and around the first team setup. And there will be an expectation for him at 21, perhaps more than there is at Nwaneri for 17, despite obviously Nwaneri being the one with all the promise. It wouldn't surprise me if Saladin's playing some Carabao Cup football and making a few matchday squads, especially with these bigger squads that you can have in the Champions League. There's a chance that Saladin gets a little bit of football, and that might surprise some people, especially with that Marino injury, though. I've got to say, though, if you're asking me, are we better off with this set of midfield options than we were last season when we had Smith Rowe, Vieira? Yeah, I think we are. I think there's a better balance. I think Nwaneri can easily come in for Ødegaard and do what he needs to do from a profile perspective. The question is, can he from a quality perspective? And I know he's not going to be Martin Ødegaard, but to a level that we're happy with in the Premier League if needed. I mean, you've got the most complete set of sixes in the world there, and you've got probably the most balanced number 8 that I can think of. I mean, without spending 100 million on the best midfielders in the world like Camavinga, you probably had the most balanced, perfect profile for the availability and all that to accompany both Rice, Jorginho and Partey, all three of them. So I think that's really interesting. I think the balance is a lot better in midfield. I think Saladin could definitely play some football, like I mentioned. And what we've got here as well, which we haven't had in a while, is actually some youngsters we're excited about. Some youngsters that we think they're part of the squad and we're not expecting them to play every week or even play that much. But if you're telling me that, like, maybe not Setford, but that Lewis Skelly, Saladin or Nwaneri have to start a Premier League game once or twice, anyone 8th or below, my expectations for what Arsenal should do in that game don't really change. It's, you should win it. And that's because when they came in pre-season, they maintained those levels of performance. So I'm excited for them to be a part of the squad. And yeah, I do include Saladin in that, absolutely. And then you look at the front three. The front three made up of 6 players. And I think the reality is that this could be, I've put Sterling towards Saka's side, but you could easily, shuffle that along like that. Easily. You got your false nines in Trossard and Havertz, Jesus and Saka out wide, Sterling Martinelli out wide. You could do lots of things, but it's probably going to look more like that. And I just think that's probably, the right. Let's open this back up. That's a decent set of options. I don't look at that and go, oh my God, wow, we're going to score 110 goals in this Premier League campaign. We're looking phenomenal. Everyone should be frightened. But what I do see is pace in these 3. Got a different blue now, but there we go. I see. In fact, let's do it with an arrow. I see pace in these 3. I see hold up play and link play in. Let's do it in a red. In these 3. In a yellow, we'll show it. What do I see? I see insane work rate in these 4. I see players that can play out on the touchline in, pretty much the same pacey players I mentioned. Players that can kind of move inside and make things happen. We'll show it in green. Let's use this pink. In terms of players that can get in the pockets and make things happen, Raheem Sterling definitely can. Jesus definitely can. Trossard definitely can. I think there's a good range of profiles there that can all contribute at some point in the season. No, we don't have an Erling Haaland or a a world-class, world beater of a winger in there. But I think there's enough decent profiles in there to keep teams guessing, to throw different problems. I think you've got a variety of skill sets. I think there should be enough there to help Arsenal just try close the gap even further to City, if not win it. And I think what's big about this whole squad that I've shown you there is that, is there a player there that Arteta doesn't trust? Like that actually he will not play him. Kivior, he played against Bayern Munich and Porto in the Champions League games and at the Etihad. Lewis Skelly and Nwaneri and Saladin he played in pre-season minutes. Kieran Tierney at one point was a player he absolutely loved, although has obviously lost faith in him recently because of a tactical shift. I think that is a group that for the first time Arteta can look at every single one of them and go, yeah, I'd happily play you. Maybe not all at the Etihad, maybe not all in the Champions League semi-final. But that is a group of players I think he genuinely trusts, and that's why I think this squad has taken a big leap from last season. Yes, it's not perfect. Yes, it wasn't the stellar window where we added a Guimaraes and a Nico Williams. But I definitely think the squad has come on massively from what we had last season. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'd love to know what you think. And if you missed my Raheem Sterling breakdown, that is out on the channel if you want to know a little bit more about what I think he can bring to the club. And actually, I think, despite it being a little bit of a panic buy on deadline day, I just think it's a good deal. See you in a bit.